Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, December 9th. I'm Hunter Hodes, the host of Locked On Penguins, coming at you all with another episode as the Penguins continue with their winning ways. A 4-3 come-from-behind victory against the Buffalo Sabres. They are now 11-2 in their past 15 games. We're going to fully recap this game and look ahead to Saturday's game for what the Penguins can improve upon from this game, because there are things that they can improve upon. We'll get to Jeff Skinner's stupidity. That's actually going to lead off the first segment. We'll also get into Evgeny Malkin's stupid penalty, Brock McGinn staying hot, a really underrated play that was made by Sidney Crosby to get the tying goal to Rickard Rakell, Tristan Jarry's performance, POJ. So much to talk about when it comes to this game, and it all starts right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Also follow the show's Twitter at Eleanor Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. Again, if you have not listened to a few episodes this week, I apologize for my voice right now. Yes, I am congested. I have the cold still. I actually am feeling a little bit better today. Funny enough, my nose is not as stuffy, but I'm fighting through it. You know, I'm hoping by Monday that this is all just a mirage at this point. But yeah, just not. I'm not having a good time right now, to say the least. But we're gonna power through this episode and we're gonna hit on everything, and let's get into it right now. So, the biggest moment from this game came late in the third period. Tied game. It's gonna go to overtime. Going to see some 3-on-3 action. Nope. Did not get to see that. A puck comes into Craig Anderson. He's able to crowd with his glove. Guentzel comes in, gives his pad a small little whack, but any NHL player does that. Skates off. You think the play is over, but nope. Jeff Skinner comes over, whacks his leg. Okay, whatever. Gives him another whack. Okay, cross checks him in the body. Probably a penalty. And then right after that, boom, right to the face. That is a easy penalty, 10 out of 10 times, easy 5-minute major call, 10 out of 10 times. He was disqualified from the game. And now that he has the 5-minute major, it has to be reviewed for a suspension. And I do think he is going to get suspended. I'm going to touch on that here in a few seconds. And then Penguins are able to use that to their advantage. They don't score in the final 21 seconds of the third period. They don't score for the first minute of overtime, but the Penguins are able to win the game about a minute and a half in, thanks to Jeff Carter, Rickard Rakell. Really nice pass to get it to him, who's in front of the net. Carter goes skate to stick, puts it past Craig Anderson. The Penguins go home with the extra point to stay in third place in the Metropolitan Division in a game where the Penguins, they didn't have their best game, but they'll take that extra point. I mean, the Sabres have played them really tough this season. And, there's obviously going to be a lot of animosity going into that Saturday game. I'm sure there's going to be some pushing and shoving. Don't know if there's going to be any fights, but I think it's going to get chippy just because of what happened, late in that game. But what a stupid play by Jeff Skinner. I mean, what are we doing here? I don't really care about those few cross checks before. You want to cross check him in the leg. Okay. You want to cross check him in the midsection. I see that all the time. Penguins have done that plenty of times. But once it goes up to the head face area and you go boom right to the face, that's you can't do that. Like, he could have lost all of his front teeth in that situation. And honestly, we saw Evgeny Malkin get a suspension for that. Remember late last year against the Nashville Predators when Malkin put his stick up to the face. I can't remember his name, but Malkin, because of his history, he got a 4-game suspension and it was deserved. He had to learn from that, and so far he hasn't done that since, but it was a stupid play by him, and I think Jeff Skinner is going to learn the hard way here too. Excuse me. I do not want to see anything less than 5 games here. I know I'm probably setting myself up for failure, and I'm not going to be surprised if it is less than 5 games, because George Peros is an absolute moron, and he has no idea how to run the Department of Player Safety, but they need to send a message here that these kind of plays are not okay. You cannot cross-check someone in the face when they're vulnerable with their teeth like that. Like, that's a garbage play. It's dirty. Like, I don't care if it's Sidney Crosby that does it. I don't care if it's Alex Ovechkin that does it. I don't care if it's, a random AHL call-up. You should get the book thrown at you for that. And I think, he's not going to play on Saturday. He should be out for at least the next 5 games. That's how I see it. He lost the game for the Sabres tonight. The Penguins will say, thank you very much. I'm glad that they didn't really retaliate. Guentzel kind of gave him a couple whacks as he was getting whacked. But I think, some past Penguins teams, they would have gone out there and they would have retaliated, under Dan Bylsma and stuff like that, Mike Johnston. But under Mike Sullivan, the Penguins know to just play. That's his mantra. And they didn't retaliate. They took the power play and they said, hey, you want to be stupid? Okay, we're going to go win the game. And that's the best medicine. I will always say that if a team wants to play dirty against the Penguins, go out there and win the game against them. Then when they're going off the ice, you can laugh at them, talk all the crap you want, just don't retaliate. That was the biggest thing I didn't want them to do there. And I'm glad they didn't. And they went out and won the game. Thanks to Jeff Carter getting his first non-empty net goal since October 20th against the Los Angeles Kings. It's a span of 20 games. So a player that badly needed a goal in Jeff Carter for that one. But yeah, just a really stupid play by Skinner. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if this is his reputation around the league. I mean, I don't watch a lot of Sabres games, so I can't really comment on it that much. But that's the dirtiest play I think I've seen him make in his career. So just at least from what I've watched from him. Again, I don't watch every Sabres game. I didn't watch every game when he was in Carolina. But in terms of games that I've seen him play, haven't really seen anything worse than that. But really dumb, and I'm glad the Penguins were able to make him pay. And yeah, again, he's not going to be playing in that game. And that goal capped off a really strong night for the power play. 2 of the goals were scored on the man advantage. That's now 4 games in a row that the Penguins have scored a power play goal. That's what I'm saying again. The movement right now is so beautiful. They're taking their time with the puck. They're not overpassing. They're making sure they get the right look and making the right passes, and they're finishing their chances. And you saw that tonight on 2 goals, the Guentzel one, excuse me, and you saw it in overtime when Raquel had that really nice pass to Carter. Speaking of Raquel, he has been awesome lately. I mean, he's well worth that contract right now, making me eat a little bit of crow. I wasn't crazy on the term, and maybe he was fine, but the term was a little much. But he's been one of their best players, and I think you can definitely attribute the power play, the unit turning around to him coming on there, something that I've been wanting for the last couple of weeks. So really glad that he was able to make that play, and the Penguins. Not sure how much I would have trusted them in a 3-on-3 situation, just because it hasn't been their bread and butter this year, which is weird to say because they have so many elite players that can play at 3-on-3. But they will take that power play. I figured because they had the power play going into overtime that this game was 1,000% at least going to go to a shootout. I don't think they were going to lose in overtime unless they gave up a 4-on-3 shorthanded, which that would have been embarrassing. You give up a 4-on shorthanded goal when you have a 4-on-3, you should just be sent to Mars, to be honest. But obviously that did not happen. But that was really the big moment, or the main moment in tonight's game. And again, really hope Jeff Skinner gets the book thrown at him. There's no place for that in today's NHL. There's just not. It's a stupid play. I don't want to see anyone defending that. There's nothing to defend with that play. But I think that'll wrap up this first segment of the podcast. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to get into a couple of other plays that really stood out to me tonight, including the Sidney Crosby play that led to the Rickard Rakell goal early on in the third period. But before I get to that, obviously I have my Bet Online for you all on YouTube. It's your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get all the latest odds and trends for every professional amateur league out there. For football to basketball to soccer and esports, we've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest, easiest way to get your betting fix. You can head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, I'm back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow my Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at _Penguins. And thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. I'm, my buddy from college, who's a massive Sabres fan, he was watching the game as well, and he even said, "Yeah, it was just a really stupid play from Skinner," and he would also be stunned if he was not suspended for the game tomorrow night. Which I mean, he will be. I'm sure tomorrow morning you're going to see a hearing, but again, looking to some other plays that really stood out to me tonight. The Sidney Crosby play early on in the third period, the Penguins have the power play, right? Just finishing up. Looks like the Sabres going to get it clear. Nope. Crosby leans towards the boards, somehow keeps the puck in, gets it, I believe it was to Guentzel, and then they're able to get some traffic in front of the net, and then Raquel buries it from the right side, right near the blue paint to tie the game at 2-2. But watch that play again from Crosby. The way that he was basically almost to dive across to keep that puck in play, because I thought it almost went out for a second. I thought it was about to hit the netting or something, or just, something like that. But no, Sid was able to keep that in, make another one of his superhuman plays, lead to a scoring chance, and then Raquel was able to finish in. That just, it's another one of his amazing plays this season, Crosby. That is, and why he should be a serious favorite for the Hart Trophy right now. It's plays like that where, I think some people take him for granted. He is playing at an otherworldly level right now. He doesn't make that play, I don't know if the Penguins win this game. So I want to take a couple minutes here to talk about that just because of how awesome it was. I hope I was able to describe it to the best of my abilities, but for those that watched it and those that listened to the game, really just an awesome play by Crosby. I can't get enough of how he's playing right now. Brock McGinn, he continues to stay hot. He's basically scoring one goal every couple of games at this point. This is the Brock McGinn that I think a lot of people were expecting to see when he signed that contract. Played great in his final year at Carolina, played well in the first half of last season before just kind of going off the rails last season, in the second half of last season in the playoffs. And then for a lot of this season, not playing up to par, but then, the last, 7 to 10 to 12 games, he has been on another level. So really happy to see him playing on the third line and just playing on a good level. Hopefully he can maybe get an upgraded center potentially towards the trade deadline. And yes, that's a call for Bo Horvat from Vancouver. He is my number one target. I will leave it at that. I will touch on that a little later on as we get closer to the trade deadline. But if there is one area that this team I think still needs, it is a number 3 center. As I hate to say it, I know Jeff Carter scored tonight. He's not that guy anymore, people. He's not that guy. So that's that on that. But just a rip of a shot from, again, I don't know what Craig Anderson was doing on there, just because of the angle. It was well below the red dot on the right side of the ice. I don't even know how that went in. He's just, and Craig Anderson, he's a goalie where he'll wow you with some saves, but then he'll give up like goals like that where it's just like, how did that even go in? And honestly, throughout Craig Anderson's career, he's been pretty consistent in the way that he'll either have a ridiculous good game where he'll stand on his head. Well, tonight's like kind of like a game that doesn't count in these two categories. It's just it's not the norm. I'll say this, but usually with Craig Anderson, he'll make like 50 to 55 saves, give up 1 or 2 goals, or he'll just get lit the hell up. There's just no in between. Tonight, was one of those rare in between moments. He actually played pretty well for the most part, I think, against the Penguins. But usually it's one or the other. But the Penguins were able to get 4 past him, and they were able to come away with the victory. But McGinn, the Raquel goal was Sid. All that was awesome. Guentzel, he extends his point streak to 5 games. He has 3 goals during that time. Really nice snipe from the left out, or just a little bit to the right of it. Really nice screen in front. I believe that was Raquel as well. He has really just transformed that unit ever since he got onto that unit, to be honest with you guys. So, again, I talked about that in the first segment a little bit with the power play. He's been awesome. And, when Letang's ready to come back, I take Petrie off, and I just let, Letang quarterback that unit with Raquel, Crosby, Malkin, and Guentzel. And I would like to see how the unit goes for that. I understand that Petrie's playing well in that unit, but when healthy, that's Letang's unit. So that's how I see it on that. I also really liked the penalty kill tonight. The Sabres power play, it had been pretty hot coming into this game. I believe I saw the graphic on AT&T Sportsnet where they were hovering around 25 to 30% in the last few weeks. That's a scary unit. Dahlin at the point, got Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins, Jeff Skinner, Victor Olofsson. He's a power play point machine. Usually they can put the puck in the back of the net. So this was a big test for the Penguins, and the Penguins, for the most part, they pass. I know they gave up that goal late in regulation with about $1:30 left to Kyle Oposa, who he's always killed the Penguins throughout his career. So I'm not even surprised at this point. But for the most part, otherwise, the Penguins had a really strong night on the penalty kill. Brock McGinn in particular was really nice with his stick play, just poking it away just out of the zone at times. I thought Brian Dumoulin was better on the PK at 5-on-5, though. Not good. I'll get to that a little later on. But, I thought for the most part, the penalty kill was extremely solid. Tristan Jarry's performance tonight, I don't think any of those 3 goals were on him. Just piss poor defensive coverage, I think, from the Penguins. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But, none of those 3 goals, I think, were that savable. I think overall he played a good game. And, he's been red hot for like the past 3 to 4 weeks. I was reading actually from Ryan Wilson from Hockey Buzz. And I clicked on one of his articles today, and he actually, put a really good stat in there that I'll share for you all here in the last month. Jarry's really yet to lose in regulation and has over a .940 save percentage. That'll do. He's really turned things around. He's still giving up that sometimes weak goal, but he's been making a lot of good saves. He did that same tonight, just didn't allow a weak goal, and he continues to give the Penguins adequate goaltending in each start. He's not going to play on Saturday. That'll be Casey DeSmith's game. He will play, I think, on Monday against a really good Dallas Stars team. But, I really do think Jarry played well tonight overall. From an individual performance perspective, I think that's really, let's get to the Gino stuff. Not his best game. Very stupid play. Man, my eye is just killing me tonight. Man, I'm just a mess, people. I apologize for this for those who are watching on YouTube. But, I do think Gino was a little bit of a mess tonight. Took that really stupid penalty with 3 minutes left on Tage Thompson. You can't hook him there, man. Like, that's just a really dumb play. And I tweeted this. I'll say it on the podcast. Gino, excuse me. I get it. You want to go for the franchise penalty minute record. You're about 20 minutes away from it. You're going to break it by the time you retire a Penguin. Not at that moment. Do that when you're up 6-2 or something like that, man. Just not when the team is trying to defend a 3-2 lead with 3 minutes left in the third period. That's just a really dumb penalty to take. The penalty kill was killing it off at a decent rate before Oposo scored. Just really stupid, I think, overall. So hopefully he learns from that going into Saturday's game and just going forward as well. That'll do it, though, for this segment when looking at some individual player performances and just other plays that really stood out for this game. Coming up in the final segment, we're going to get a look at some things that the Penguins need to clean up going into Saturday to make sure that they can sweep this back-to-back, because the Penguins have been really bad on the second half of back-to-backs, and also look at the overall underlying numbers from this game and if the Penguins can carry those over into the game as well. So stick around for that right after this commercial break. All right, I am back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at @Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So let's get into some stuff that the Penguins did not do well tonight. And I think some of their coverage in front of the net was kind of piss poor, especially towards the late stage of the second period. Guentzel gets that goal, 4 minutes left. You're like, okay, going to take a 1-0 lead into the intermission. You're playing well. You're kind of stealing it at that point. I think Jarry's made some good saves. The Sabres have kind of had the better of the play, but nope. You go down going into the third period because the Penguins made 2 brutal changes and the defensive coverage on both goals was really bad. First one, just a brutal change. Ryan Dumoulin is out to lunch, goes in the back of the net. Tristan Jarry, no chance to save that one. Second one, the Rutta-Dumoulin pairing is on again, and both are out to lunch on that one. Another player left wide open in front of the net. Jan Rutta is chilling at the side of the net, right towards the right of Tristan Jarry, acting like he's drinking a Corona on the beach out in like West Palm Beach, something like that. Don't know what the heck that defensive coverage was, but it was ugly. Dumoulin, he didn't really make an effort to play the puck in that instance. And again, just a brutal change as well. They were changing while the Sabres were coming up the rink. I'm like, what are you doing there? That was just a really ill-advised time for the Penguins. So they need to be cautious about that going into the matchup on Saturday. They need to play better in front of their net. They need to not have defensemen and their forwards out to lunch in the end zone coverage because, Tristan's not going to save those. I don't think any goalie is going to make those saves, to be honest with you, unless they're just God. So that's really the one area of focus that I would really look into heading into that game. Just, that pairing overall, that Dumoulin-Rutta pairing was pretty gross. If I can look at the shift report, nope, that's not the shift report here. And Dumoulin struggled across the board tonight. When he was on the ice, the Penguins only had 32% of the shot attempts. If I go down to find Jan Rutta here, 37% of the shot attempts. So when you combine those together, if I can get my mouse going, geez. When you combine those together, 33% overall, gross. Not good enough. It's bad. Again, they were out to lunch on both those goals. That can't be happening moving forward. And going into the third period, excuse me, Dumoulin was like one of the main ice time leaders among all defensemen. And that's crazy because he plays on the second period. You figured it would be Pettersson and Petrie that would be leading the way there, but nope. It's Dumoulin, which, I don't understand. I think the more minutes you give him, the more he struggles. He was just totally doing his own thing. Same with Jan Rutta, acting like he's drinking a Corona while listening to, the Pina Colada song or something, something like that while he's on vacation. But that was really the main negatives that I have about this performance. I do think the Penguins were pretty sluggish coming out of the gate. I did not like the start at all. I had pretty bad vibes. And, that was, backed up by natural stat trick. If you look overall at the numbers at 5v5, the Sabres crushed them in the first two periods, had 24 shot attempts for to 17 chances against. The Penguins then took it to them in the third period, 15 shot attempts for, 4 shot attempts against. But the Sabres overall for the game, they did lead in Corsi. They did lead in scoring chances. High danger was close to 50-50. And then expected goals, the Sabres led 55, well, about 56-44, I should say. But, the first period was dominated by Buffalo. Second period was kind of the same. They had the deserved result, but the Penguins really took it to them in that final 20 minutes. They were by far the better team there. In the third period, the Penguins had, if I look at this up, if I can find this right here, 78% of the shot attempts. They also had 80% of the scoring chances and 75% of the high danger chances and 77% of the expected goals. And that obviously carried over into overtime where the Penguins were able to skate away with the victory. So for this game, I know both teams are going to be on back-to-backs. You're going to have shorter shifts, but I want to see the Penguins come out just with a better start. There's going to be a new goaltender in it. I understand that, but I don't want to see them get pushed around like they were in the first period. At one point, the shots were 12-2 in favor of the Sabres, and that's just it's not good enough. You can't rely on your goaltender to just bail you out every first period. Tristan was the only player that showed up in that period. You can't ask Casey DeSmith to do that. Because I don't know if he's going to do the same thing. That's goaltending. It's the most volatile position in all of hockey. So I think that does it for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I don't think I really missed anything from this game. I'm potentially going to be at that game tomorrow. I'm looking to see if I can secure a ticket, but I'm also trying to make sure that I actually feel better. If I wake up tomorrow and I still feel like crap, probably not going to go. But if I do feel better, I do think I will be able. I'm going to go to the game, but I will definitely be there on Monday. So if you are going on Monday, just let me know, and maybe we'll meet up there or something. But that does it for this one. Hope you all enjoy listening to it. Again, I apologize with my congested voice, but that's what happens when I just, I get a cold. One more thing though, I did want to send my thoughts, my prayers, and my condolences to Grant Wall, who was covering the World Cup in Qatar over the last several weeks. He passed away very unexpectedly on Friday night. We do not really know any of the details, but it's just an unspeakable tragedy. I think I can speak for myself and so many other people that, his knowledge of the game was so vast, and he was able to teach so many people about the game of soccer, and he was just an incredible journalist. So wanted to end the show with that. My thoughts and my prayers and my condolences go out to him, his family, his friends, and just everyone around him during this time. So again, thank you all so much for listening, and I will talk with you all on Monday.